Yeah.
So how did you two meet through all of this stuff?
I actually emailed Anne about the Crafting Conservative museum exhibit that's going to be up next year. The lady who was putting it on contacted me. She had found me through my patterns and asked me if I wanted to participate, and she wanted more people. So I emailed Anne, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And then we started talking. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, let's do a podcast. I've always wanted to, but I didn't want to do it by myself. And
and the podcast was a thing that I had always, like, I watch a lot of different YouTube shows, and I've always had that in the back of my head of, oh, well, you know, that would be cool, but I never, like, seriously considered it. And, you know, once you're like, okay, we're doing this, I'm like, I guess we are.
That's kind of how it happened too, because we kind of like threw it around for like a month, and finally I'm like, okay, we're doing it June 1st, and she's like, okay. Like, just that was that.
And a friend of mine was asking, I'm like, well, we're doing this, and I'm a little nervous about it. I'm going back and forth, and she's like, I'm going to ask you the obvious question of, did you pray about it? And I'm like, yes, but it felt less of that I need to specifically pray about this thing in order for there to be a yes. It felt more like well, here you go, Anne. Do it. Like, I'm like, it's itself. Right. Yeah. Like, well, I threw it in your lap, so you got to do something. I'm like, oh, well, all right, let's go.
Yeah. And it is nice, though, that there's the two of you. I think it's easier because y'all hold each other up, because I know I'm in the yarn shop by myself, and I've had quite a few people work here, and to walk in and have them sitting there not even doing their own knitting, I'm like, okay, yarn shop's full of lint. Mm-hmm. There's vacuuming to be done if no one's in here. There's so much to be done in a yarn shop. To walk in and have them sitting there and not even knitting on their stuff will just break your heart. Mm-hmm. So, but it can be hard on me by myself. So my husband will come in and help out on stuff, and then when my daughter's in town, you know, just that little boost. So I'm glad that y'all are doing that together, because you can bounce off of each other.
Right. Well, I'm glad I have Anne, because she knows all the facts. Like, I kind of like know stuff that's going on, but if you really want to know something that's happening, Anne has the information. I'm just the face.
Well, but as the face, she also does all the heavy lifting. So she does the video editing. She does all the stuff like that I'm like, wow, I feel bad. I just kind of.
But see,
I show up with information.
I had been talking and praying about doing a podcast for a while, but what kept holding me back is because I have the kids, and I've always like kept a low profile, and I'm like, if I put my face out there, people can find me. Right. And so it kind of turned into like do I want to do it? And then when I started talking to Anne, it just made sense. So
I know. Aren't you glad you started
in your lap? Oh yeah. It's so much fun. She thinks it's funny though, because we're internet married now.
That, you know, people like we talk about that, you know, she'll do a Zoom chat and I won't be there, or I'll jump into a different knitting Zoom chat and they'll be like, where's the other half? Like,
people expect us to be together.
Right.
That's kind of nice. So I mean, like I said, you get to bounce off each other and your strengths play off each other, which makes it nice just to keep that show Do y'all do this weekly?
We do.
We do.
It keeps you on task, you know, and it can be hard when you're by yourself at times. I mean, I know at times I just really struggle with certain things at times. So I have to have my husband come in and just kind of give me my pep talk. Sometimes my customers will come in, and I always tell them it's not like I want them to do anything. So I may be decorating for Christmas, and I go, just come in and keep me company. You can do your knitting, just talk to me. And every now and then I'll go, does this look good? And you can look up and give me your 2 cents. But just having that company sometimes keeps me motivated and moving, especially when I don't want to do something. Oh, gosh.
So absolutely. And I couldn't imagine, there are some women who are very successful doing a podcast on their own. I don't have enough to say. I would be like sitting here by myself and I'd be like, all right, I got nothing. I gotta go. Like,
I feel that way too. I'm like, I mean, yes, I obviously I like to talk a lot, but I'm not sure I can monologue and be
Oh,
like,
No,
it's a
monologuing
2-hour
is different than
podcast, or it's just me.
the conversation.
Like, oh.
And I don't know how people do it. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, I don't either at times. I mean, like when I get quiet at home, because I'm a fairly big talker, but when I get quiet, when I leave work, I kind of want to, I don't want to be around anybody, to be honest. I'm just going to go home and I need to unwind. And so every now and then I'll get really, really quiet. My husband will go, so are you okay? And because my husband cannot carry a conversation. If you talk to him about Boy Scouts, you won't be able to shut him up. He's been in Boy Scouts for like 40 years, okay, since he was little. So I go, I'm good. And a couple minutes later, he's like, are you sure nothing's wrong? And I'm like, did you break something today?